All right, y'all, Stronger Life Show today. We're going to be talking about wrists and hands. So if you have arthritis, if you have painful wrists, painful hands when you're going to lift heavy things, we want to talk about ways that we can make that a little bit better for you. So the way that we like to think about this at Stronger Life is kind of two categories. We want to optimize your hands and your wrists. That's the first one. The second one is we can compensate in some way, shape, or form. So optimizing, what do we mean when we say that? So the first thing that we want to think about is, do you have good wrist mobility? So are you able to move your wrist throughout its full range of motion? Is it the same side to side? And oftentimes you can have tight wrists. Well, there's some things that we can do about that. So got some box here. You can use something like a countertop, a table, whatever. You could go on the ground as well on your knees. But you can do lots of stretches just using your weight to really get more flexibility in your wrist. So a good one to do is to have kind of your hands right underneath your shoulders and then just shift your weight forward. And that really helps with, we call this wrist extension. This is a really good one to do, and it's going to be really practical, especially when you're starting to lift things overhead. You want to be able to move your wrists like this. And then you can just kind of work on and then work off. If that is a little bit painful, what you may want to try is a band. So if you don't have a band like this at home, if you have like TheraBand or something that you can anchor like in a door frame or around some type of post, I can put this band around my wrist like this and then get in that same position. And that band is pulling my arm in this direction, which actually allows me to go a little bit deeper into that stretch. And this feels pretty darn good here. And I'm able to go further before I feel any bit of discomfort. This is a really good one to do. You can also do the same in the opposite direction. So instead of this, I can do this as well and then try to keep my elbows straight and move forward as far as I'm able to go. So wrist mobility is huge. Those are a couple of really good stretches to help with your wrists. We also want to think about the strength of your wrists and your grip. You can do that in many ways, carrying relatively heavy things, but there's lots of different things that you can use to really strengthen your grip that's ultimately going to help with your soreness. These are barbell collars, but these are great grip strengtheners. For any Stronger Life members that have used these, you know this works your grip pretty well. But you can buy on Amazon, relatively cheap, these types of springs to strengthen your grip. And that'd be great to do while you're sitting watching TV, while you're driving, whatever. You can do this whenever to strengthen that grip. And then the third thing that we want to mention, especially for the Stronger Life members, is if you're having issues with your wrists, it's really good to warm them up really well, even prior to coming to class. We try and warm up and mobilize our wrists in our class, but if you feel like you want to do a little bit more, go ahead and do that ahead of time. So some of those stretches, working the wrist out, getting used to bearing weight through your hands before you work out or come to class will be very, very helpful for when you get in and we're going to lift relatively heavy things. So that's the first part, optimization. 2, compensation. All right, so there's a lot of things that we try and do, especially in Stronger Life when folks may have a achy wrist. First thing is we think about their grip. Not their grip, but kind of the placement of their hands. So let's say we're doing something on the ground where we're having to bear weight, like a push-up or something like that. If this position is really tough, for like a push-up, for example, if I'm going to be doing something like this, maybe I can turn my hands out a little bit and make that a little more comfortable. So instead of straight forward, I can turn my hands out. And that's not going to require as much motion from my wrist. So hands out can be one option. Another option is elevating the surface. So if I am trying to do a push-up on the ground, like this is a much tougher position on my wrist because I'm bearing a lot more weight through my hands and wrists, as opposed to if I'm up on an elevated surface. This is 20 or 24 inches right here. I can make this 16 inches. I can also make it 20 inches to elevate, and that can make it a little bit easier on my wrist. Another thing that we can think about is the position of your grip. And a lot of times when we're bearing weight, we may use something like a dumbbell. So instead of bearing weight like this, I can bear weight in this neutral grip, which a lot of people are going to tolerate a whole lot better. So Changes in grip, elevation, we think about that. We also may use some accessories here. This one is probably one of the most effective, and it's a wrist wrap. And all it is a big piece of fabric with some Velcro, and you can loop it around your thumb. These are like 10, 12 bucks. And it provides compression. So I just squeeze it around my wrist, make sure I don't cut off any circulation, make sure I can still move my wrist. But this is basically squeezing this together, providing compression, and it will allow you to lift heavier weight and not be as sore. So these are really great, very affordable to use. You can also use something like these gymnastic grips, which go around your wrist, and you put your fingers through here. And what this can be really helpful with is, let's say you're lifting weight, that you can you grip and you have that piece of leather here, that when that weight starts to pull down, it disperses this load to the wrist as well. So you're not relying entirely on your hands in your grip, but you're also able to use some of your wrists as well. So sometimes that can be helpful. So we want to optimize, we want to compensate as well if we need to, and those are ways that we can allow people to exercise, do what they need to do with as little hand or wrist pain as possible.